Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to season 2 of Over the Head podcast. We're officially back, right on time. I'm Scott Ratliff, as always, with my host Kyle Hartzell. It's been 5-6 months since we've last done this, Hartsey. So, what you been up to? Welcome back.
Yeah, I think our last episode, we might have been on the Pelkey show. I was moving to Utah from Austin, Texas, so I'm settled down in Park City, Utah. Got a 5-month-old daughter, so I have my hands full with that. And I'm out here coaching lacrosse full time.
Oh, yeah.
About to open a gym.
You've got your girl dad hat on, huh?
Yeah, you gotta let people know.
See, the Masters hat is actually like an upgraded version of a girl dad. It's just basically like a more seasoned dad hat than the initial girl dad hat.
Yeah, and you're going to the Masters, so gotta represent.
Yep. That's the corporate perks. So what is that the MLL championship trophy behind you? What is that? What is that silver?
That is championship weekend MVP trophy. Bud Light championship weekend MVP.
They just give those out to anybody, huh?
Only defenseman ever to win championship weekend MVP, Scott. Right there.
Congratulations. Very impressive stuff. So look, a couple updates to the show. We are back this year, and we are brought to you by the Lacrosse Network. So we've partnered with TLN, with the Lacrosse Network. They're going to produce the show. I think the idea is hopefully make us better, give us some accountability, hopefully more content. We'll have kind of their team helping us with research, which God knows we know that we need that as well. So look, we just for the listeners who were with us last year, I think our plan is to hopefully get a little better at this, but generally do it the same way, break down games, tell stories, all that good stuff. But partnering with the Lacrosse Network and kind of getting their distribution, our goal is to obviously continue to grow the show, but most importantly, just to make the show better. And you can already see, I didn't have a working microphone, maybe ever last year. And now we got the mic, we got the AirPods set up. So already improvements. So thank you to TLN. To be honest, I chime in, but I don't know if this show continues to happen without their partnership. So
yeah,
we're super
grateful. I think we're just going to pour gasoline on this thing, right? We had a great year one. John Miller, shout out our producer who has now been hired by the PLL
Jay Mills
to run this thing full time. And just really looking forward to the content they're going to put out on this. And I think, podcasts are all the rave right now in the media scene. So, we're just hoping to bring more lacrosse to the fans and, hopefully bring some excitement and some fun to the show. So,
all right.
Yeah.
I think the only other, and I'm about to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I think maybe the only other update is maybe a little more PLL centric focus this year. I think one thing we both learned and took away from last year is I think both of us are, more excited about talking about pro lacrosse and frankly more knowledgeable talking about pro lacrosse. So maybe we'll get some guests on that are true college experts. And we definitely want to cover the big storylines, especially as we approach May, but there's some overlap in the college and pro seasons. We're about a month out now. The pro season starting earlier this year, which we can touch on. So we'll give you a little college lacrosse talk, but our expertise is certainly in professional lacrosse, and that's where we're going to be focused this season. So with all that being said, let's start with college lacrosse. Given that, obviously it's been the off season, there's some stuff in the PLL to talk about. I would say most of the broader lacrosse world is focused on, conference tournaments coming up and looking at the college game. Neither of us are very good at the streaming situation. I think we always are texting in the off season about our frustrations trying to watch college lacrosse. But what is your, what's the storyline, or what's kind of the biggest thing that's caught your eye as we kind of get towards the tail end of the season? What have you been paying attention to?
Well, you mentioned it, right? The streaming thing. As we get closer to May, you start to hear the voices of Paul Carcaterra, Anish. So when you hear those voices, it's just, music to my ears. And I think the storyline this year is just, North Carolina, right? 10-1. The rankings came out, North Carolina at 1. And then the Bresci contract stuff. I think there's been a lot of talk about Joe Bresci over the last, how many, 17 seasons, 1 title, 2 Final Fours, 10 playoff wins, 2 ACC championships, 5-star recruits putting out 3-star product, right? I think this year is the year for them to make a statement, and he's already signed his Mr. Contract extension. So North Carolina for me is the big story. Bouncing number 1 last year, they kind of had not such a great output, but this year
I think if I remember, like at the end of last year, Duffy was hurt. I know he was playing.
he still looks hurt,
but
too.
he did
like
he didn't seem to like have the production. They're putting it together more this year. The Bresci conversation is always so funny because we obviously are friends with a lot of ex-UNC players, and there's, they're excited right now. Let me start by saying that they're definitely excited about this team, but there's always like frustration in them kind of underperforming.
Yeah.
I did not know that UNC's got like the fourth most championships of any program.
Yep.
In my mind, like the only time they'd ever won was that 2016, like
Cloutier.
what I would consider a fluky run where they barely made the tournament and then they got hot and they ended up winning it all. And I think I had heard, like I knew that like there was one other time, but they had like the early 80s. They won like 3 championships in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And then I think they won another one in like the early 2000s maybe, or 90s or something. And then the 2016 one. So despite my understanding, it is a very proud program with like championship expectations. Wouldn't it just feel like the UNC story if they go into the tournament as the number 1 seed and then they lose in the quarterfinals to like, I don't know, like they'll lose to like Syracuse or like another ACC team that's a lesser team. It feels like that could happen, but they have been probably the most consistent strength of schedule. Obviously their record, they're very deserving number 1 right now, but I'm a little bit like, I'll believe it when I see it with them. Winning another Memorial Day.
Yeah, another cool. And then Dom Petromal, he's slated to crush the goals record this year. He's got 2 more years left, obviously this year and next year, but that's a good storyline as well. But
if you can't win a championship with Holman, Sankey, and Bitter as your starting attack, like I don't know if it, like, again, I know that they have won it, but I just don't know if it's in the blood of the men's lacrosse program. The other thing I was thinking about, like, why? So the 70s were like this golden time in my mind of college lacrosse. Like the Maryland teams, there was Frank Urso and Schreiber was there, and like the Cornell teams and French and McEnany and like these guys. And then I just feel like the early 80s nobody really talks about. Like it's kind of like lacrosse. And I was wondering if maybe like the hippie movement kind of coming to an end. You have to imagine that had an impact on like lacrosse culture. And maybe like UNC just snuck a few titles in there in the 80s when nobody was really paying attention. And then all of a sudden people woke back up and then the other programs started winning again.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Makes a little sense. I didn't follow college lacrosse too closely back then, but yeah, I'm sure the hippie era had a little, you just jump right over it.
All right. So the other thing with, UNC, good for them. Plenty of games left to lose here on their calendar, but they do seem like, the cream of the crop of if not of the whole country, at least of the ACC. Right behind them, number 2, Notre Dame, number 3, Princeton, number 4, Richmond. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a big Dan Shamati guy. The Spiders obviously suffered their first loss to Notre Dame, but, that team is
Are you shocked? Are you shocked to
tested.
see them drop to 6? I mean, they were number 1. They got 1 loss in the regular.
I've got them at 4. I'm looking at the media
Hopkins 7-3, Q's 9-3. Like, I mean, I think Q's their schedule, obviously strength of schedule, the RPI, but like, I was shocked to see Richmond drop all the way to 6. I don't think that was.
We might be looking at different polls. Because the poll I'm looking at, they're 4.
Yeah, the new
They're
NCAA. I think
on the media poll though, there's different polls.
I'm on the
There's
NCAA.
media
I'm on the NCAA site rankings.
Yeah, see, I'm on Inside Lacrosse.
Gotcha.
I don't have time for these government sites or whatever the NCAA is. So I'm looking at the media poll, which they are 4, Harvard 5, Syracuse 6. Anyway, they're an interesting storyline just because it'd be really fun if a new program can break through, and they've obviously been super consistent and good. And, they lost to Notre Dame, but they went down like 7-0 in that game, and then they kind of settled in. It was their first like big time matchup as a number 1 team in the country, kind of playing as a front runner, maybe a little bit to be expected. Notre Dame's defense is legit. So like, I'm not overly worried. I would not say they're like head and shoulders above the pack, but I do think talent wise, they're right there with that group. I like that Princeton, Notre Dame, UNC, and then maybe who else is in that group. Like, to me, those are the top teams.
Yeah.
I also, and it seems like we're doing this now for another year, but I'm also very interested in just like the Spallina legacy talk and what is Syracuse going to do? Because again, I admittedly have not been watching that closely. And again, he's having another season where his point total is super high. And he's number 1 on most PLL mock drafts, but it just doesn't seem like they win any big games. Like they beat Duke, but like Duke does Duke kind of stinks? Does Duke kind of stink? So
Yeah. And I think,
I don't know.
Watching the Cuse
I don't know.
Watching the Cuse UNC game, I think that might have been the first game he's been held pointless. He had goose eggs on assists and goals. Very frustrating game for Cuse there. And then the Gary Gate quote where he was complaining about the field, that was also just like, I couldn't believe they were just blaming the field on that, or the coach was. I don't know if players probably weren't, but that was really sad to see.
Yeah, so what you're talking about there is Gary Gate after the game was like, they have a grass field, we don't have grass, we can't practice on grass. The game was really ugly. Is
there grass in Syracuse? Do they have grass in Cuse?
It was snowing there, but it's just like one of those things where it's just like, just don't don't they're like kind of UNC to me, where you can't look at the rankings and say they're in the top 10. They were in the Final Four last year. Like, it's very hard to put a coach on a hot seat in that scenario.
Yeah.
Like, they're winning and they're super relevant and whatever, but I don't like. I feel more faith and trust in this UNC team than I do in the Syracuse team, and I just wonder. Like, at the end of the day, we've talked about Spallina a lot. He's kind of he's a figure that gets talked about a lot. He was super hyped. He's had this crazy career with tons of points, but there's always seemed to have been like this missing thing with him. And I think I talked about it. Like, it's part of it for me is the type of player he is. He's not a dodge for yourself creator, Michael Sowers, like even CJ Kerr's type. He's more of a, I think, play in the flow of the offense. He's been super successful indoor. He kind of can do a little bit of everything. So I do think he's very, very good, but obviously just the pressure that comes with like number 22 in the dome and number 1 recruit and all that kind of stuff. I remember JoJo Marasco, Hartsey, his senior year wearing number 22 at Cuse, and like out of nowhere taking them on a tournament run. And I think they lost in the national championship that year, maybe to Duke, if I remember correctly. That's like Joey. I know they went to the Final Four last year, but then they got kind of hammered in the semifinal game. Like, it just feels like even if they don't win it all, man, if he can play on Memorial Day, I think and he plays well in the tournament, I think it becomes very hard to like be a hater of his, like, or make any case that he's not kind of an all-time great there, because the stats are all there.
Yeah.
And he's made one Final Four. If he pairs that with another at least title appearance, but it does feel like anything short of that, unless they like lose in the Final Four, but he's kind of playing, he's going off, then I just don't know. I don't know if he then falls into kind of tier 2 Syracuse legend, lore. If he can't, I mean, that's kind of the expectation up there, right? You got to win one, to really become the guy there.
Yeah, I mean, his legacy is stamped via the stats, like he's going to break the record, but yeah, I think for me at least, it's you got to win a national championship. And not saying that his career is a complete failure, but at the end of the day, like, Syracuse is
no, say it,
complete failure if you don't win a national championship. But yeah, I think winning a national championship would just be, it would just be it'd be everything for him, right? Yeah. He has the points record. He has every 22 there has won a national championship, I think. I don't know if I'm misquoting anything there, but it would be tough.
No, because JoJo Marasco didn't.
He didn't win it.
And then like they had some down 22 years there, dude. They had like that kid, they gave 22 to that kid instead of Kevin Rice for a little while. That they didn't win a championship on that team. Evans, what was his name? They went through a rough patch, I think, in between like. And like, I don't even know who was wearing 22 during the Galloway, Joel White teams that went back to back. Like, 22 wasn't the main player. It might have been Kehoe.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was about to say Kehoe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I don't.
Cody Jamison was Cody Jamison 22.
It might have been him. It was somebody like that. But like, that team was obviously Galloway and White and Jovan. Like, there were other players on those teams. Abbott. So anyway, it'll just be. I'm just excited to watch it. I'm excited to listen to all the Spallina legacy talk.
Yeah.
I'm curious if maybe the last thing kind of here on college lacrosse. I'm curious, like, outside of, so like, it feels like the knowns, Carolina, Notre Dame, as we kind of enter tournament, season, Carolina, Notre Dame, Princeton have kind of been up there all year. Syracuse is kind of a known commodity. I'm going to call Richmond a known commodity just because they've been in the top 5 literally all year. Let's include Maryland there just because they're Maryland and they're always kind of there. But like outside of that group, who else? So like Harvard is up there in the rankings.
I mean,
Cornell's kind of quietly hanging around. Virginia's been climbing.
Yeah, the team we haven't mentioned is UVA, right? UVA, I think, beginning of the year, their losses and the talent that they have, I think everyone was calling for Lars Tiffany's head. But people forget, Lars Tiffany won, national championship 2019, 2021, and now everyone's kind of all the people that were calling for his head. No one's saying shit because they've had, they beat Notre Dame, they beat Duke. Like they're a team you gotta put up there, right? They're clicking right now. The Hopper kid, the LSM, the freshman, he's got freaking PLL written all over him. Hopefully in 3 years, but it's gonna be.
I think every year. Both years we've done this podcast, you love some Virginia LSM, and I'm always like, we'll
over the head check. He's scoring goals as a freshman. I think he's gonna.
They always do that. We'll see.
So UVA, I think UVA at number the NCAA polls, UVA at number 8, they're freaking dangerous. I think they got to win the ACC, but they're a dangerous team right now. They're playing very well.
I think they're actually their RPI is pretty good.
Yeah.
Because they've played a tough schedule. They have that, to your point. They have the Notre Dame win, which it's just going to be they're going to be number 2 or 1 in the country most likely going into it. So I think they've got a good chance at being in the tournament. The young Millen, Brendan Millen, he's been the best freshman in the country by a mile. Great. He's awesome. But the thing about that team that I like is what do all the great UVA teams have? Most all of them, all the ones I remember at least, is a goalie.
Yeah,
going back, there's just you just go back and a lot of the best goalies in college lacrosse history have played there, have won championships there. Obviously,
Tillman,
our guy Adam Gittleman, Tillman. And this goalie, the story with him, he's in his 5th year there. He's going to be he wants to be a special ops nurse, so he's in nursing school for his 5th year. He wasn't going to play. Somebody research this. If anybody from the Lacrosse Network is listening, text me if you can tell me where he played before he transferred to UVA. But so he transferred into UVA just to go to nursing school to go do that. First off, love that career choice. That's a crazy thing to pursue. That's super badass and really cool. And then he decides, you know what, I'm here, I might as well try out. So he texts
U.S. Air Force Academy transfer. I just looked it up.
Okay, so he went to Air Force, so that makes perfect sense. So he texts Tiffany. Tiffany decides to give him a walk-on tryout, and then he wins the starting job. And now he's getting hot. He's got winner leadership DNA written all over him, service. So I get excited just talking about it because he's the thing to me that could make UVA the team. If Brendan and McCabe obviously won a championship together in high school at McDonough, those are 2 really good weapons who obviously have built-in chemistry, and then you've got plenty of other talent on their offense that you've been kind of waiting for them to pop. And now if you've got a hot goalie with the it factor, which is the UVA thing, they are a dark horse to me for sure. I'm excited to watch them down the stretch because they have the horses to run with these other big dogs. And then squeaking in at number 20 in the media poll, the Loyola Greyhounds are back.
I thought they took the year off. I didn't even know they were playing this year. I haven't heard anything about it.
7-4, number 1 in the Patriot League. So you don't want to play a Patriot League in the tournament. Look, we're probably a year away at Loyola, but it is worth highlighting that didn't take long. 1 year, and we just were right back in there. So congrats to the Hounds on so far a good season. They've got Army and Navy coming up. The Patriot League, admittedly, probably is not in the national championship contention most years. Army's pretended to be for the last 5-10 years, but then when push comes to shove, they're not. They lose in the tournament every time. But it's a fun league to watch because it's super competitive. There's all the teams right now are kind of log jammed at the top with BU and Army and Loyola and Colgate and Navy. So anyway, I just had to shout out my boys because last year was brutal, and 7-4, a 1 year turnaround. Coach Toomey, Coach Jay Ward, Justin Ward, my old teammate, they deserve a ton of credit. Back in the top 20.
There you go.
Back where we belong. There we go. So, all right. Anything else on college lacrosse, Hartsey, before maybe we talk a little bit at PLL draft? Feels like a nice natural next conversation here.
Did a good job there. I think we're good on college.
I do too. Yeah. That felt in pretty in flow. So we're back. Okay. Switching up then. So let's talk about the draft. So it kind of goes to some of the parity in the in the last few years in college lacrosse, we've had Kavanaugh led Notre Dame teams winning championships, and then we've had, with big stars, and then we obviously had Kirsten Cornell, like wire to wire, best team, best player last year. We don't have that this year. Like Spallina is kind of the name, right? But obviously he hasn't had quite the same, winning or whatever as Notre Dame and Cornell had. There's not an obvious star number one pick to me this year. And like I saw Kark just put out his kind of most recent draft, and there's another one on one of the PLL writers. Are you sold on Spallina? Or let me not put thoughts in your head. Like, what are you looking at in this draft? And is Spallina a lock for the Archers? Is there something else that you're paying attention to, or a different guy that you think could squeak in and steal that number one spot?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do not think Joey Spallina is going to be the number one overall pick in the draft. I really don't. It'll be interesting to see as we get closer if they're, obviously his dad is the GM for the Redwoods. There's a couple 91 guys on that Redwoods team. Could the Redwoods trade up to the Archers to get him? If that'd be the only thing in my mind to see them take him at number one. Is the Redwoods making a trade to get the number one pick from the Archers, in my mind. I think, for me, defense in our league, I think short stick D middies, having good, solid short stick D middies on your team and you can look away and not have to worry about them. I think the Aiden McGuire kid, it sounds from all my sources, sounds like he's full-time lacrosse, wants to do it for a very long time. Like, I think he's a generational talent at the D mid position. I think you cannot pass up on him. But again, the Archers have
all your sources, huh?
All my sources, yes.
You got some sources in there? And where are those come from? Like, those pro sources, college sources? Yeah, I agree.
But like, you look at the Archers, like, they're very good at D midi. So are they going to take Aiden McGuire there? I don't know, but like I think
no. So let me chime in on that because I do have like a little, connecting the dots thing here. So I agree with you that to me, McGuire is the most obvious lock to be good. So it's like I don't think there's ever been a D midi drafted number one overall. I think in my draft, Chris LaPierre was a D midi from Virginia who went number 2 overall, and then I think Josh Hawkins went like 4 or 5. Yeah. Big year for D middies. Yeah. LaPierre never really did shit in the pros. Hawk obviously had a very good career, a couple championships with the Outlaws. But is that position like, does it have enough juice to get a number one overall pick? Because he's not a two-way guy. He's a very, very, very good, very athletic D midi who can score in transition, but like definite D midi with him.
Yeah.
The Archers don't need that. If you look at the Archers roster right now, that's probably their best position.
Yeah.
Right? With Maher, or whatever the hell his name is, Pedersen and Bond. Yep. Like, they're 3 solid guys there. The Archers also, so right now, the teams are allowed to be 30 guys. Their roster for the first training camp, which is in Philadelphia this year, they're doing two training camps, a mini camp in Philly and then a mini camp the week leading up to game 1. The first training camp, Philly mini camp, you're allowed to have 30 guys. By my math, the Archers are carrying 28 currently.
Yep.
And I think most teams are carrying 30. Like, most teams have their training camp roster built, and then, guys will get cut for college guys or whatever. I think perhaps there is something in the works with Bates and Joe Spallina.
Yeah.
To, why leave open spots? Like, why not just pick guys up, like, and have your full slate? Like, it doesn't really make sense why you wouldn't do that. So I think there might be already something in the works or even done there.
Do you know something? Do you know something, Scott, that we don't know? Are you trying to tell us something?
I don't. My camera's moving. Let's see if I can get my tech guy on it. There we go. I don't know anything. This is truly like I really am like, I'm putting pieces together, but like, what would it take to get the first pick? It would probably take, a player and a couple draft picks, or at least multiple draft picks. So if you're at 28, and look, he could be at 28 saying, well, I'm just going to use the first and second round pick to fill to 30, but those guys probably aren't going to be available right away.
Yeah.
So he's still going to need to add guys.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if he doesn't like add a player and a pick, or a couple extra players coming for that first overall pick. That, I agree. I think that's the only scenario. Actually, I don't know that that's the only scenario, but I think that is the scenario that's going to play out. And Spallina is going to go 1 there, and the Archers will trade back and pick up more depth because I think they have a little more sense of kind of who their guys are offensively. It'd be interesting to see Joey join that offense. It's just like they have a lot of attackmen. They have Sam King. They obviously have O'Keefe. They have Fields. Like
no really natural.
They have
ball care. Like
they have Grant Ament.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And Bates, it seems like their offense is very positionless. Like got guys running out of the box that play attack, and then have you heard much on Tom Schreiber? I know he's injured. He's not playing indoors. Is he playing again this year? I know he's on the IR, but
yeah, I don't know. He's definitely on the IR, and I
hope he comes back.
I have not talked to Tom directly about this, but my spidey senses tell me he's probably still thinking about it.
Yeah, 100%.
He's at 3 kids, lots of injuries. I mean, I would, if I had to bet, I'd bet he goes one more.
Yeah,
knowing Tom, but yeah, that's been kind of an interesting topic of conversation. So it'll be interesting to see what the Archers do with the first pick. I think we're aligned that McGuire's the best player. So from my perspective, he goes to the Cannons. But who I think also have solid D middies, but I think probably are maybe a third, one more really good D midi away from feeling super locked in there. They haven't really had that since Bubba Fairman left, and it's been, I think with Randall and with what's their other captain's name, their other D midi
for what
big
team?
Dude, big Towson dude, the Cannons.
Goodrich. Is that Goodrich?
Yeah, with Goodrich and Randall, like they're one more.
Dude, then they picked up Marquez White, Princeton short stick D midi, who was very good, very athletic. I think he might have played in the Sixes tournament.
Never heard of
Marquez White. He's a solid D midi.
So we'll see. But I could see McGuire going there to the Cannons, but I also
and you know where Scott? Do you know where he's from?
No, like hometown. What is he from? Dundalk?
He's a Massachusetts boy.
Oh yeah, he does
So
play.
I think
like
he's a
guy,
Cannon. So
yeah, that's actually a good point. Okay, but hear me out on this. I do think that Brian Holman could plan on taking McGuire. I'm going to take McGuire. He's our guy. He's the best player in the draft. That's our strategy. And then you get to draft day, and you've got a D midi, and you've got somebody who you just saw score a shit ton of goals in the conference and NCAA tournament. And it's just hard to make that decision at number 2 overall. So like the Towson kid, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Weissar?
Weissar.
Is that
That's
it?
Close.
Like if he goes off, or if Palumbo, like from Princeton, puts together a really good tournament and you already have his buddy over there on the left side for the Cannons, like I think McGuire's the best player, probably. The best, at least the safest bet to be a very good pro.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to test the commitment of those coaches in the top 3 picks, because I just think it's so hard to not get a guy that you feel like can be a huge contributor offensively and a major goal scorer. Like it's hard to pass over that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what ends up happening there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the A. McGuire kid, man, I just see him. You can put him down he can guard an attackman. Like you can double pull with him. Like there's just so much you could do, and I just think he's a generational talent in this draft.
I do too. He's got great like D midi. Like he's got he wears the elbow pads up on the biceps. He's got
long ass arms.
There was a play late in this game against Virginia where they were trying to get the ball back, and like they're pressing out all over the field, and he's completely gassed, and like
the ball.
he just squares a guy up 1-on-1 who's trying to stall, and like hooks him, strips him. It's just kind of like, damn, like he's probably the best. To your point, like he's probably the best cover guy on that team with a short pull. So I'm with you, but I'm just saying, let's see who else in this draft, Hartsey. Do you have your eye on? Do you think it's going to be a great pro?
Yeah, man. The Silas Richmond kid from Albany. He's very one-handed righty. He's a huge body behind the back goals. He always finds a way to score. Finisher. I think he was number 2 on Kark's draft board, I think. And I think the Cannons.
I know, crazy.
Yeah.
Because I saw him early, like way further down. Haven't caught any Albany games this year.
Me
but
either.
He must be doing pretty well.
I watched
he moved way up.
Yeah, I watched some YouTube highlights of him, man. He's got PLL written all over him. Just big body. Like he's a inside finisher. He can carry the ball. He can lean into his defenseman, get to where he needs to get. I think that is going to be very interesting to see teams who have the top picks and they're valuing is Joey Spalina better than him, or is he better than Joey Spalina? I think that's going to be interesting to see which one of those go first, because if you look at the picks, like 1, 2, and 3, like outside of the first round, I don't know what's left outside of that after the first 10 picks. But the Silas Richmond kid is an interesting one. You don't see Albany playing many TV games. You got to go onto YouTube and see his highlights, but he's built for the PLL, so it's going to be very interesting to see where he goes. He's on number 2 on Kark's draft board, so that's another interesting one.
I just asked ChatGPT, and it had him going forward to the chaos.
Ooh. Hey, it'd be interesting to see ChatGPT and what happens. Just let's see if a robot or AI can pick it.
Hey, I'm sure better than us. That's for damn
Which
sure.
coach in the PLL is using ChatGPT for this draft?
All of them, dude. All of them. The Coddle's probably not. Like any of them under 65 are definitely on there, just trying to figure this shit out, just like we are. So look, the other thing that's I think an interesting kind of storyline is like a lot of people had, that Shaler, the Maryland defenseman was way up there, and he went down. And there was another big time defenseman I think that went down. So it opens up some first round probably spots. I still think Shaler, the Whipsnakes will probably take him in the 3rd round or something.
And that kid looks like a goddamn freak machine. Like he'll come back. He'll be good in the league after that.
Yeah, he will. So, all right, well. That's it in terms of my point of view on the draft. ChatGPT has Michael Leo going to the Redwoods, so just again,
91.
Yeah, exactly. Was he 91 or is he just Syracuse?
Dude, I think he's a 91.
I just think of all those guys being the same thing now.
I think anybody that's Italian, anybody that's Italian is Team 91. Doesn't matter.
Is Michael Leo Italian? Is Leo an Italian last name?
Yeah, Leo.
Yeah, Leonardo.
Sounds Italian.
Oh boy, we should probably move on before we completely lose it here. Okay, so PLL offseason. A lot of different storylines, and I want to make sure we touch on them all. The one that's the most interesting to me is the Chaos fire. The league fires Roy Colsey as the head coach of the Chaos and puts in Stephen Brooks. I have some sources here as well.
You have sources too.
So the story that came out was about money. Colsey, wanted a certain contract. The league wasn't going to pay him that. He said, all right, kick rocks, and left, and then they replaced him. What I understand is that that's not completely the case, and it was more like a firing. And I didn't get much context on why the league justified that. One thing that we both know that they always do is they obviously take into account data like your win-loss record, but then they also do these player surveys. Again, citing my source, I think his player survey scores were really good, which to me wouldn't be hard to believe because I think that Chaos team overperformed their talent last year considerably. I mean, they obviously had Blaze in their defense, but that offense was 5 rookies were in their starting lineup, and none of them were super high picks. It was their best offensive player was that Army rookie. They didn't have the star power, and they were a playoff team. And won big games late in the season. They seemed to improve as the season went. So for the pretty trained eye, I would be watching them play, say that's a coach who's building something there, right? And I think he had a really good staff with McCready's and Sweeney, and they, by all accounts, from me watching the Chaos, it was this is a competent coaching staff and a team that's starting to figure out an identity and that's relying on a lot of young players, and also it has a coach in their first year, and just inherited a roster of a bunch of Canadians and had to completely overhaul it. I found that to be a very, very strange decision. And it kind of leads to just maybe some annoyance for me in not getting to know more. I think this is one of the hardest parts for the league about their structure is in other major pro sports league, you know who's making the decision to fire somebody, the owner, right? In this structure, the same owner owns all the teams. So that's a very kind of complicated decision-making process that we basically get no insight into as fans. I know it's not just Mike and Paul sitting up there. I know that they've got kind of their board, their lacrosse board that definitely includes Seth Tierney and probably some other, lacrosse people. But I don't know, when when John Harbaugh got fired from the Ravens, that Ravens owner, Buschetti, who never talks, does a press conference. and says, here's why, here's what I'm thinking, here's what's next, and then he goes back. Like, it bugs me that doesn't happen. Like, I want to see a PLL press conference with whoever it is. Is it Seth? Is it he probably would be the right person for the league to use in that role. I want to see them get up there and explain why we fired this coach who made the playoffs in his first year, with a young, talented roster. Like, I'd love to know that. So that one is, and that this has nothing to do with Brooksy, who, like, I think is deserving to get his shot. He's been a great assistant coach in the year. I can talk a little bit about him as a player in a minute, but like, that, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. All these coaching firings have, because there's been a lot in recent years, and it's like, yeah, you can have your opinion, it's warranted or not, but like, I want to know why. Explain yourself. It's great content. The Bills owner, when they fired their coach, he like totally dropped the ball in his press conference and was like, I made the decision in the locker room, and he got bashed in the media for it. And like, I want that. Explain why you made the decision. Like, somebody step up there and take ownership of like, we fired this coach and here's why, and let us take our shots or our agreements. Like, I think the PLL is missing with not handling that stuff differently.
Yeah, and that's a piece to touch on too, right? The coaching turnover, I think, is not a very positive thing in the league. Myself, like, coaching, I mean, the Cannons have had when Brian became the coach, right? They've had their staff has turned over, and it turned over again this year, right? D coordinator gone, O coordinator gone, Will Manny in there now, which I think he's going to do a great job. But the coaching stuff is, they just gotta, in my opinion, like, they gotta fix that, because the coaching, it's essentially the identity of the team, right? So like, if it keeps turning over and turning over and turning over, it's just like, it's a revolving door. I think that's one.
Which is tell us. Yeah. I think the assistant coaches, I'll give it a little bit of slack, because we've talked about this, but like, these guys aren't getting paid shit. It's really hard to keep an assistant coach. You're paying them fucking $10,000
but that's a problem, because
got,
some of these teams, like, you put in a lot of. I mean, I was watching film every goddamn day, and it was like, yeah,
I know. Remember? So I think we talked about this, but Hartsy's wife is a finance gal.
She did the numbers.
She like broke down the pay per hour of the time you spent in. It was like $3 per hour. Or no, it might have been even less.
It was like 30 cents
per hour. Yeah. But like, the head coaches are compensated pretty well.
Yeah.
So like, to me, that just deserves a little more media transparency. Like, why is a guy getting fired? Who's making the decision on who to hire, and why did we choose that person? Like, there should be a press conference. Like, I guess if they do a press conference with Brooksy when he gets the job, but I want a press conference with the guy who hired him.
Yeah. Who's
making the decision and standing on that decision? It's almost like the league, and now I'm getting way out there, but like, what if they had like an internal ownership structure where you, like, obviously they're doing GMs now. Like, maybe it was the GM. Was it Spencer Ford who made that decision? Is the GM the coach's boss? Like, somebody, this is one. I'd like to like get somebody from the league to explain this to me. Like, I just want to know why. I want to know the drama. Yeah. There's got to be drama there. There was definitely drama with the Towers situation. Like, the league loves drama. Like, let's go. Let it rip. Tell us what happened. Colsey getting a big argument with somebody. Was it money? Was it not money? Like,
did he bite somebody's finger off? What happened?
Give us some information. So moving on, like, it'll be interesting to see Stephen Brooks step into that role. The Chaos won the sixes. Yep. He steps in and they go and they win sixes. They do have Spencer Ford still as a GM, which I'm going to point out, that guy's been doing this in pro lacrosse for a long time, knows what he's doing, made some kind of subtle pickups, Bertrand. Like, they're going to get better. So, like, he's a good GM, so that roster is going to improve. It's been Americanized, so it should be more stability there now without guys like kind of leaving for indoor, doing summer indoor or whatever. So I think they're going to improve. I think Brooks is coming into a great situation. You've got the best goalie probably of all time, or pro goalie of all time at least.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a great job to come in and step into. They need to improve the offense. You know what Stephen Brooks was like? I want to know if you had this experience with him as a player. He would just trot out there like, he was a little older than me. I think he's probably closer to your age, I would think.
I played with him on the Bayhawks.
Yeah. So he would, like, I would cover him when he was on the launch and stuff, and he would just be out there cheesing. He would just jog on the field and like see that you're guarding him and just give you a big smile, like, "Hey, dude."
Yeah.
Like,
even when you slashed him, he'd be smiling. Like,
I don't know. Like, he might have been the only player of all time that I've ever played against that I was like, just can't slash this dude. I think I was just poke check because he just was his vibes were so good. He made me happy to be out there. So I love him, and he's shown the ability to be intense as a coach. And he won the sixes with the Atlas with them, so he's got to be kind of. I wonder if he's in the mix on the Olympic sixes stuff because he's been very good in that format coaching.
He's coaching USA. He's coaching Team USA, like the younger guys, like that developmental stuff. He's very involved in that. But yeah. It's interesting because him and Spencer have, obviously have chemistry from the Bayhawks when Spencer was a GM. So that's going to be definitely a storyline this summer. So yeah, can't wait to watch.
Which makes me wonder, like, is Spencer the one is he the mole? Is he the one that got Colsey out and Brooks in? Like, come on, give us something. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. All right, so. That'll be fun to watch to see what they do. I would say the other, maybe to me, major storyline was Adler. So another one where there's got to be some drama here. So Adler's, what's his first name?
Gavin.
Max? Gavin, thanks. Gavin Adler is the number 1 pick in the PLL draft by the Atlas. He's I think he just played his 3rd season, and he wins Defensive Player of the Year, and the Atlas win the championship. Like, that is not a potion for player leaving during free agency. You just won Player of the Year at your position on this team, and you won the championship, and they picked you first overall, and he's gone. And the article that was written about it on PLL's website basically said, there wasn't great communication. He didn't love that he was going into free agency. He didn't love the number the Atlas put in front of him. Coddles, who's now the GM of the Water Dogs, kind of was chatting with them, and basically the door got left open, and the Water Dogs made a strong offer, and the Atlas matched the offer. But at that point, he was kind of bridges are burned a little bit, annoyed by Pressler's lack of communication or something. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but something happened there, because I did say that the Atlas matched the Water Dogs offer. So the relationship broke down somewhere, and he joins the Water Dogs coming off D Player of the Year, and maybe his greatest value is his ability to guard Sowers.
Yeah.
He's the guy who had the energy and the quickness to shut Sowers off all game. And now that guy's on their team. So it's to me, it's almost like a double hit for the Water Dogs. You made your defense better, which it badly needed. And you also just got rid of the one guy who really gave Sowers a hard time, because he was the only one who's got the energy to shut people off all game long.
Yeah.
And he does it very, very well. And it's a skill. And I don't want to take away from him. To me, is he the best defenseman in the league in terms of, all around game? No, probably not. But you go out there and try to shut Sowers off for an entire game and hold him scoreless. It's hard. It's tiring to play that way.
Yeah.
And he's very, very good at it, and he's got the energy for it, and he keeps his matchups off the board. So I do think he deserves some credit for that. So that's a wild story. I wonder what happened there with Pressler and the Atlas and how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Cottle, right? He's been, man, I played under him when he was the GM, was named the GM of the Bayhawks, and he just has a knack for getting good players on rosters. I don't know what he does behind the scenes, but he owns horses. Maybe he told Gavin, they matched. He said, hey, I'm going to name a horse after you. You get a percentage of the winnings. That could be behind the scenes. You never know. So something was done behind the scenes. I'd like to know more. He does own horses. Yeah, he has race horses. He's big into it.
So Dave Cottle was the coach at Maryland when I was getting recruited.
Yep.
And
Salisbury.
I was a
player at Salisbury University.
I grew up a massive Maryland fan. My dad played at Maryland. My dream my entire life was to go play at Maryland. So I'm up at top 205 at College Park at the University of Maryland my junior year, going into senior year. I'm getting some sniffs from Navy and Loyola and a couple others, but I'm not really a recruited player. I'm from Georgia. I was undersized, blah, blah, blah. And I can remember all the guys on Maryland's team were huge. Cottle was known for loving huge guys. Maybe it's the horses thing. Every fucking dude he would recruit there, Farrell and Yateman and Catalino, it was those years, bunch of 6'5" dudes running around on their team. And so I was going to go up. I remember my dad being like, you're going to go introduce yourself to Cottle. And he stuffed a bunch of socks in my cleats. So my foot was lifted up another 2 inches inside my cleat. And it was go over there and shake his hand, look him in the eye. And I went over there and did it. And he was nice to me. He did not give me an offer. And then we beat their ass in the national championship. So I've always had a little bit of a healthy fuck Cottle grudge for that because I wanted to play there, and I in my head I just wasn't tall enough. I need maybe I was a few socks away from being able to go play there, but Adler does not fit that mold. So maybe he's growing a little bit as a person.
Yeah, and also, man, you look at
small kings.
Yeah, you look at the roster too for the Water Dogs. When I look at these rosters, I think, their roster might be the most complete, right? I mean, their defense just got younger. Liam Burns leaves and goes to the Chaos, which the Chaos get him. He's a veteran. Adding another veteran to that defense is going to be huge for the Chaos. But you look at their defense, right? Gavin Adler, Kenny Brower, and then Ben Randall, right? Kenny Brower was he did unbelievable, and Brennan O'Neill, and
he was a beast last
year. So
year.
If he's healthy, I mean, this defense, Dylan Hess, Matt Witcher, like their D-Midi stable is good, and then their offense is just their attack unit and then their midfield unit. I think they're the most complete roster in the PLL via addressing, if they need to address the attack, the midfield, the defense. Adding Gavin Adler, just that's another cover guy you don't have to worry about on that close defense. So. Big pickup for the Water Dogs. I would like to know more about that back behind the scenes, if he had a horse named after him and he's going to get a percentage of the winnings in the racetrack, but we'll see.
Give him give me a press conference with Pressler too while we're at it, and and invite me.
And he can't wear sunglasses. He can't wear sunglasses.
You know what? This is I'm gonna get, but this is but the the PLL press conferences are a little bit like the current Pentagon press conferences, where it's like only certain types of media are allowed in here. Like no funny questions at any of you media members. It's all the in-house media. Yeah. Let me in there. I'm gonna ask Presser, what the fuck did you just not text him? What happened? Did he not like you? And I also want to ask whoever, Tyranny or whoever, what's going on with the Chaos coaches. Like somebody ask those direct questions and put that on the fucking PLL Instagram. Like that's what the people want to know, right?
Hey, man. Yeah.
Am I the only one who cares?
No, we want to know that information.
In the offseason, that's what I want to know. Give us the drama.
Maybe if I get to training camp here in Utah, I'll sneak in. I'll ask some hard questions. You just give me some questions.
What do we got to do to get a credential? You'll just send your Kyle Hartsey just sends his AI Otterbot to all meetings, so he actually won't be at the press conference. He'll just have his Otterbot in there on his behalf. I'll show up. I'll actually show up myself in the flash to the meeting. All right, Artsy, what else to wrapping up here? I think there's two things we should just mention for the casuals, for the non-PLL lovers like us. So I alluded to it earlier, but different schedule. So they're starting at in early May, the first weekend of May, I think, or the end of April, something.
Yes, first weekend of May.
We'll get research. So first weekend of May. So in the past, it's been after Memorial Day. So they moved the calendar up. I'm a fan of it, like longer season. The challenges with it are you're not going to have your college players, as early in the season. So your rookies. You're not going to have NLL guys as early in the season, right? So there's going to be more crossover with the indoor league. So there's going to be guys joining teams late from that, more of that. And then also there's a decent amount of guys that coach college lacrosse. So now that number shouldn't be as big because a lot of teams are going to start getting eliminated, but coaches and players that are coaching into making a tournament run also won't be available. So like by my estimation, rookies, NLL, college coaches, and potentially even some high school coaches that are that are head coaches and pursuing state championships and stuff, there's probably 4 active roster spots for those first 3 or 4 games that are going to be filled by guys that are not part of the June 18th roster, at least in that coach's mind. And I think that's a great thing because you miss out on some star power, but one of the hardest parts about this league has been breaking in. There's not a lot of practice. There's not a super long training camp. Like in the week-long training camp in the past, the guys who were trying to make the squad, the 30 through 24, 23, let's call it, on the roster, basically had like 2 days of practice. And like in those 2 days, you're like also doing install with your starters, and you're like, it's just not an easy situation to prove yourself. So there's going to be guys that are going to get opportunities, and there'll be at least 1 or 2 that I think will steal spots or will earn like full-time positions. And I'm really excited. I think that's a really good thing. I also like the adjustment they're making to training camp. So they're going to Philadelphia they're doing 30, you get your full 30 for whatever, it's 3 or 4 days in Philly, you cut to 25. 25 is the team's roster. 19 dress on game day, but 25 are on that roster under contract, and usually 2 more, so 20 and 21 usually get paid. So they have kind of 2 reserves, and a lot of time what coaches do is they move around those reserves, so those other 25s. So like if you're in the 25, you're on the roster, obviously you want to make the 19. The 25 are then all going to Utah a few days before the first game, and then they'll have a couple days of practice to cut to the 19. So what I think that allows is it's going to allow the coaches in Philly to really prioritize evaluating 20 through 30 and picking their 25. And then you'll get that full 25 group in Utah to figure out who your 19 are, who your 20 and 21 are. I think it's a better way. I think it's a more effective way of giving the bottom of the roster guys, the non-star, not everybody can be Kyle Hartzell with the whatever that silver trophy is behind you.
Bud Light MVP.
Bud Light MVP trophies in their future. The other guys need a shot too, and I really like this decision by the league to do it this way. I think it's going to be good, and I also like that they're starting in the spring. Let's go. People are watching college, are excited about it. More lacrosse on TV. Let's rock and roll. I think it's great. So I like the changes. What do you think?
I think it's going to be interesting, right? You've already hit the major piece there is like the college coaches, high school coaches, they're going to be in season. They won't be at camp. So it's going to be very interesting to see strategically how coaches build out their rosters. It's essentially a tryout for guys for a couple of weeks. And to the veterans, like older guys, like, Jesse Bernhardt, if he's still playing, Mike Manley's a cop, so he'll be there. But Jesse Bernhardt, who coaches college, like, training camp, man, you remember, like, how many guys get injured in training camp? Like, especially older guys, soft tissue injuries. And, like, if I'm an older guy, a veteran, 8-10 years, I'm kind of liking this. If I can just come in week 1 and not be injured coming into the game. But it'll be interesting to see what coaches do, who they pick up. And essentially it's going to be, it's going to be more opportunities for guys that wouldn't normally get those opportunities. So it'll be interesting to watch. And, yeah, I'm excited for that. That should be really cool to watch.
Last thing I think for me is I want to mention our guy. He's been a co-host on the show. You alluded to it earlier. Will Manny retires and then goes right into an assistant coach role with the Cannons. I've talked about it. I don't want to belabor it too much, but Will probably was the most influential teammate for me in my career. He pumped so much belief into me early in my career, and I'm saying me, I think, because he did this for a lot of players. He was like a coach on the field. He was just so good at seeing the game. So he made me better by telling me when to pass in the ball and get assists, and then telling me where to cut and letting me score goals, especially in my early years, and kind of help me gain the confidence to become the player I become. So I just want to give him legends retire. They deserve a shout out. He's definitely one of them. He's going to be a really, really, really good coach. You mentioned it. He is one, but I just think he's somebody who he sees the game from the perspective of everybody out there. He knows what all 6 guys are doing on offense. He knows transition, and not every player is like that. There's lots of great players offensively who are great because they're talented. They can shoot. They can he was great because he had the speed and the quick hands, but he really understood the game and could see the field. So I think that will translate well. And then the other one quickly is Eric Law.
Yep.
So, Denver Outlaw legend, Atlas as well, but, non-hotbed player coming from Denver. He had a legendary career as a leader and a goal scorer, scoring championship winning goals. The guy did it all. And another guy who you saw him you saw that guy in line at a grocery store, and you'd think he's an accountant or whatever. You just would never know. And he was a killer. Yeah. He would score goals and run his mouth and talk shit. And he was, again, another just super smart player. So good. Legendary career. So congrats to E-Law, and congrats to Will Manny on joining us.
Yeah, man.
Heading to the other side.
Very seamless transition when you retire. The guys in the locker room, they already have your respect coming into the coach. It's a very exciting time for him. And it's great. It's a great transition. I loved it. I wish I could have stayed and coached full time, but obviously couldn't. But it's gonna be great.
So the pay cut
huge
when you go from being a player to an assistant coach. So on that note, there was another video, and we'll get our social team on this. they're probably not gonna like it, but there's another video going on.
I know where you're
the
going with
internet
this.
of this guy who buys storage units.
Storage Wars, right?
Like
Isn't this
storage units.
Storage Wars.
It's not. It wasn't actually Storage Wars, but it's like I think there's like an independent YouTuber who basically does that, and he buys this storage unit for like $500, and it's got $40,000 worth of Champion PLL gear in there, hats, shirts, like all this shit. They're going through it like California Redwoods, and it's Champion branded. So it's pretty new. So you can't put this one on the old MLL guys because it's all the PLL brands. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, if Colsey got fired over like $5,000 in his contract negotiation, or like a coach can't hire an assistant coach because we're 10 grand short, like on what it would take to pay Kyle Hartzell to join a staff, and you just have $48,000 worth of gear in some storage unit that some dude on YouTube just found. I know it doesn't work like that, but like that's an insane, very, very funny storyline. Like I don't know. That one's wild to me. So
Webb Mills clipped that up. Webb Mills clipped that up. That was hilarious though.
Unreal gear, like sick gear too. Like great. I mean, they do a great job with the gear. The Champion stuff is like the guy's in there and he's like, oh, Champion. Like Champion does great, well-made stuff. Like does really well in the secondary market. It's like, damn it, who didn't pay the bill for the storage unit?
That was an MLL moment, but PLL not good.
I know, it's funny. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they like outsource that stuff. I think that's normally how apparel works, although I have no idea. But it's just funny. It's just good lacrosse content. So anday, you can check that out. So, all right, brother.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Season 2, looking forward to it. We're 3 weeks out from first weekend. So it's going to be awesome. Can't wait. And yeah, man, it's going to be awesome. Can't wait. Talk about lacrosse.
All right, people. See you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.